Many thanks for staying tuned to ADBN Television, watching live from Abuja Studio, the Market Report. I am Adefola Olamilekun. On today's edition of the show, as I earlier pointed out, we're having two-part interview. First is to engage Professor Jerome Nyameh, all the way from Talingo, to help us to understand how we can bring about effective economic development at the state level that require a multifaceted approach that include leadership, collaborative partnership, data-driven decision, and a focus on inclusive growth. Meanwhile, on the aspect of effective economic development at the state level has required a lot of engagement with state government at that level to bring about economic development at their state level. But the question we normally ask is that, or that has been ringing, is that most times states normally complain about funding, and in that regard, a lot of people will also push back and ask, how are the state engineering the internal revenue fund? How are they bringing funds from that local level to ensure that they develop? Although we have FAC allocation that comes to them on a monthly basis, but the other issue that we raised particularly is how the state can manage the resources that they have and bring about effective economic development at that level. On the other hand, also is the issue around regulatory framework to ensure that states abide with a business-friendly regulatory framework that can bring about effective resource allocation and program implementation. But states also push back on the aspect of private partnership that they have been engaging so far in Nigeria, which many believe that are supposed to yield the right result when it comes to development. So states should not just rely on data to guide the economy alone, but they should be proactive in ensuring that they put to bear all the policy economy implementation that they have. So on the show today, they want to look at the general economic well-being of states, the subnational government, and how to improve state effectiveness in economic development. We want to know how we can strengthen state capacity. We also want to understand what effective collaboration that state can be engaged in Nigeria. Joining me right now is Professor Jerome Nyameh. A very good day to you, Prof.
Good afternoon. How are you? Thank you for having me.
And quite interesting to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Nice having you too.
Well, Prof, let's get down to the bulk of our discussion today. What is your assessment so far of challenges of economic development at state level in Nigeria?
Well, basically, if we talked about effectiveness or looking at challenges alongside effectiveness, there are three issues that are more fundamental that we have to look at it. And these three issues is: number one, achieving objectives. Number two is producing outcome. And number three is efficiency. That is, resources are being used wisely and judiciously. Now, from this background, you will understand that the most problem state faces is the problem of leadership. What are leaders coming to board with it? Do they have a vision?
All right, we have a network freeze there. I know Prof will join me back so that he can illustrate.
Because if you have a vision, if you follow it to the latter, so means utilization of resources.
All right, we also have a network freeze there, but Prof will be back with us so that I can explain deep on the aspect of the first critical aspect of effectiveness of state, where he has pinpointed issue of leadership. And I think in that my summary of my intro today, I talk about leadership effectiveness when it comes to state economic development. So for Prof, the first thing to tackle is leadership. Other aspect of it has come in a way, as I earlier mentioned earlier in the show, talking about IGR, and Prof is here with us again. A very good day to Prof. Are you there?
I'm there.
Well, go ahead, sir. It's just that we have network freeze. Go ahead, sir.
So what I'm saying in the essence is, when a leader gets into power with a vision, he will follow that vision judiciously to ensure that he succeeds, to ensure that there is a positive outcome, which will also mean that there will be utilization of resources wisely. And most problem we have in leadership is leaders get into power and display emotions and display incapability without plan on what to achieve within a given period of time, knowing that staying in office has a time frame and has a time period.
Very interesting, Prof. But let's quickly get to one of the issues that you raised when you started your submission. Fund is very practical. Fund is very critical. But how can we help state to improve on their internally generated fund and projectively and proactively spend it wisely?
Well, you see, basically, every state in the federation has a particular potentials. That is why you discover that states has a mantra. They will say food basket of the nation, nature's gift to the nation, a sunshine of, all these are mantras that defines the particular natural endowment of that particular state. I want to tell you, a lot of us and almost all the states in Nigeria has enough potential that we can generate income to form governance without necessarily looking at the federation. All we need is to sit down and understand what is available. How do we bring manpower capable with expertise, with professional with professional expertise on how to enhance these potentials. Today, our leaders are not mindful about what they have and what they can produce. All they are looking at is to wait at the end of 31 days, they go to the federation and collect allocation. Meanwhile, we have a lot of things that we will announce in our state. Now, for instance, let's look at it from the point of the area I am coming from, agriculture. We have a big vast land that states can engage in agriculture. We have fields of waters that state can generate and use and enter into PPP with private sector to bring about power. Because if you are talking about revenue, you must talk about power. And we have all that it takes. If it is sunshine for alternative power, we equally have them. But it all boils down on the goodwill of a leader and how prepared he is to deliver and to raise funds for his state.
Very interesting, Prof. And I really love your opinion around leadership, because for you, leadership plays a very critical role in ensuring that we enjoy effective state governance for economic development across Nigeria. But let's take down one of the issues that has been a boiling point for state government: employment generation. It has been a long time I see any state government talk about how many employment they have generated. But from your own perspective as a professor of business and entrepreneurship, how can we encourage states to create jobs for the teeming youth across Nigeria?
This is very simple. You know, I sometimes look at us and look at our policy and I laugh at it. You know, before now, in the early 80s, you will discover that most of our science school and vocational schools, they are raising young men, and at the end of graduation, they are going out with a particular trade. Let me ask you a simple question. Do you see such school exist again? Such school never exists again. And in fact, there is no transparent employment any longer. And even startup, even training, because you can't talk about employment generation without human capital development. And these young men, we need to deliberately design a policy where these people can be trained on job. Then we send them out to create job for them. Because if you don't have the knowledge, what will you offer in the labor market? So the first thing is we should deliberately engage and start entrepreneurship development, where this young one will learn trade. In fact, in my own opinion, that every secondary school should return back to the status quo, whereby before a child graduates from secondary school, he must have learned one trade, be it painting, be it tailoring, be it tiling, be it masonry, be it catering. With this, within a short period of time, there will be availability of job. And let me tell you, if you look at the chain in the agribusiness, we have up to 8 chains. And if you look at all the 8 chains are chains where business and jobs are. And when government begin to look towards that, they will generate a lot of revenue, a lot of job from agribusiness.
Very interesting, Prof. And you are very instructive on some of your opinion and submission in this regard. But a lot of states in Nigeria are doing investment summit to attract foreign investors. But people are being asked, what about local investors? How are they not attracting local investors in this regard? So to you, Prof, how can we ensure that both foreign and local investors are attracted to our state government or to the state level in Nigeria?
Well, very, very simple. You see, you can start small and grow. You have not announced the local investors. You are running away. You are going away, spending millions, spending billions to bring an investor. What do you have? The first question I want to ask is, how many of them do they have mapping of resources, mapping both human and natural resources that they are inviting people? What data do they have? Do they have any prospectum to show the quantum of what they have on the ground, to show the potential of what they have, that they will invite investors? Ordinarily, to my own under investment, first you start. Now, after understanding what you have, you invite your local investors. They will look at it. When they look at it, what they begin to do from the feedback, you will know that you have strength, you have capacity to invite foreign investors to come in. But we have to start from the local investors. One, have a mapping of what we have, develop a data bank of what you have, create a prospectum of what we had, engage with our local investor with the help of experts on the field. Because one thing about business is a business language hears business language. A business is a coward. It must be certain on what he has before coming. No man will want to invest his money without seeing you showing commitment. Let me give you a simple example. For instance, you open an industrial layout, you have roads, you have every facility. An investor would be willing to come because he knows you have committed your resources and you will secure it. But taking it at that point, I think we are talking about political investment, not the real investment.
Prof, I really want to agree with you to an extent on that regard, that we have political investment in this regard. But let's also take a look at a very critical aspect of what we are discussing today, because one of the key things that will make a state to be very effective is security. Security. Although you have been mentioned in the area of education, which is training, which is also part of security in one way, we talk about soft security. But let's look at the general insecurity that have clamored some states. So how can we ensure that we bring about harmony and peace to attract these foreign investors we have just talked about right now?
I want to tell you the way out of security is prosperity. You have already proffered the solution. Once these youth are engaged, try to protect their investment. And once they protect their investment, no intruder can come into the system or the state to distort it. Let me tell you, most of this insecurity is a connivance with those that are unemployed, with those that are jobless. So the reason for our insecurity is basically lack of employment.
Very interesting. Prof, before I let you go because of time, but let's quickly take one other issue that I know that is very pertinent, very interesting on the part of you as a professor of business administration and professor of business and entrepreneurship. Training is very key. You made mention of agricultural aspect of the economy, even telling us about the 8th chain of agriculture. But we have seen that in Nigeria, state government hardly invest in agriculture. What would be your advice to them?
Yes, I have said this thing earlier because they are relaxed and they are waiting for monthly subvention. And that is why we are having food security in this country. Like where I am coming from, we have arable lands. You are getting me? And let me tell you, if you are going to invest some amount of money, cultivate this land, use mechanized machineries, get experts, and invite these young men, come and manage your farm. We'll give you seed, we'll cultivate the land. I want to tell you, in a state, you can generate 1 million employment. And what you do, you create a strategy whereby you don't need anything. All we need at the end of the harvest, pay us with the product you have, with the percentage of the product you have harvested. By that, you have created thousand of jobs, and you have created income, and the GDP of that particular state will increase because people are engaged in production. And remember, when people engage in agriculture, they will go further to engage in production, which means there will be production and there will be services.
Very interesting. Prof, I really want to appreciate you for coming on the show today, even though we have not really exhausted some of the around effectiveness of state economic development and the rest of them. But I want to assure you that maybe it's a developing story and a developing issue that we need to revisit and bring you back so that you can help us provide some solutions to some of the challenges that we have found ourselves in Nigeria. So thank you so much, Prof, for coming on the show today.
Thank you. I will be available next time.
All right, sir.